Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Bubb Report for 2023. I am the Bubb Report's assistant producer, Rion Charles. We kick off the year by pausing to pay tribute to a Grenadian and Caribbean icon, the late Dr. Beverley Steele, the former educator, patron of the arts, and retired resident tutor of the University of the West Indies Extramural Department and the School of Continuing Studies in Grenada, published 2 books on Grenadian history. The most extensive publication was titled Grenada, A History of Its People, and the latter was titled Grenada in Wartime, The Tragic Loss of the Island Queen, and Other Memories of World War II. Steele was instrumental in securing funding for constructing the Marichaux Folk Theatre, which opened in 1982. Over the decades, Marichaux House became a focal point for plays, public lectures, panel discussions, workshops, and meetings. In paying tribute to the late educator, the University of the West Indies said, quote, Dr. Steele was a Caribbean stalwart of known repute, a contemporary advocate of distance learning and outreach, an illustrious Grenadian citizen, and intellectual guerrilla par excellence, unquote.
One of the most powerful tools of education is a book. After all, from when you are very tiny and you're going to kindergarten, you have reading books and so on, and then it progresses right up. But when people leave school, the roles of books like The Nutmeg Industry are invaluable for your continuing education, because in high school and even in TAMCC, you are being given the basics and to develop your mind to cope with life outside. The real education comes after you leave school. And I think the purpose in writing all of these books is to educate adults about Grenada and about their environment.
Also on the report, we look forward to 2023 with a stellar panel of experts on finance, human resource, and personal development. As the world faces what is to be a challenging year, we discuss why New Year's resolutions never work, despite our best intentions, and why having your financial, career, and mental health house in order are good tools for looking forward to the new year. Here to help us pay tribute to the late Dr. Beverly Steele is historian and archivist John Angus Martin. Here to make sense of 2023 are Marisa James, human resource professional, Kaylee Newton, financial consultant, and Nyasha Keynes Douglas, life coach and motivational speaker. This week's editorial is dedicated to the late great son of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Leroy Calise, the Black Stalin.
So we must put one common intention for a better life in the region, for we women and we children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean man, the Caribbean man, the Caribbean.
A pleasant good morning to our viewers and listeners, and we welcome you to this, our very first episode of the Bubb Report for 2023. Our commitment remains the same, to bring you quality, balanced, very well informed, and intellectually stimulating programming. I'm your humble servant, Dr. Kellen Bubb. Now, for this week's editorial, we want to pay tribute to the late, great Black Stalin, the son of San Fernando in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, with paternalistic roots in Grenada. The late Black Stalin was a modern calypsonian of the old school, whose music was centered around political and social commentary, when other artists of his vintage were embracing soca. His biting calypso commentaries, which contained an eclectic mix of optimism, pessimism, and defiance, earned him the title of Calypso Monarch on 5 consecutive occasions on the famous Big Yard at the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain. Stalin's popular We Can Make It If We Try from 1998 encouraged his fellow citizens in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean to stand firm during the economic crisis that enveloped the region at that time. In 1985, Stalin composed Ism Schism, a lyrical denunciation of political ideologies and the politicians who it represented. The song, inspired by the fall of the Grenada Revolution in 1983 and the political turmoil before 1979, bemoaned the propensity of the electorate to continue to fall prey to tricks and gimmicks by politicians in every election cycle, who he called merchants of greed and chicanery. By the 1990s, Stalin cultivated a major presence on the world music scene, and some of his albums became popular items outside of the Caribbean. He composed other lyrically biting anti-establishment classics, including Bundem in 1987, in which he begged St. Peter to throw the likes of Margaret Thatcher and her conservative American counterpart Ronald Reagan into hell for their misdeeds against the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa and for their illegal and unconstitutional invasion of Grenada. The left-leaning The United Kingdom Guardian, in remembering the late great lyrical giant, said, quote, Stalin positioned himself as a voice of the poor and was determined to maintain a righteous course in his relentless campaign to be a voice for the voiceless, unquote. Grenadian historian and cultural connoisseur Ali Gill, in paying tribute to Stalin, said, quote, Black Stalin gave us hope. From individuals to nations, we found solace in Black Stalin's classics, such as We Can Make It and Look on the Brighter Side, songs that reminds us of our resilience as a strong and patriotic people, unquote. We here at the Bubb Report are grateful for the impactful life that Stalin lived. May he rest in power on the brighter side. May you rest in peace, Black Stalin, and we here at the Bubb Report would remember you because your memory will be a blessing. Folks, at this point, what we want to do is to get to our very first guest because we also want to pay tribute to another Caribbean legend. She was originally born in Jamaica, but Grenada indeed became her adopted home. And I have here to pay tribute to the late, great Beverly Steele is Mr. John Angus Martin. Angus, welcome to the Bubb Report.
Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir. Of course, we want to pause this week to pay tribute to the late Dr. Beverley Steele. Tell us, for successive generations of Grenadians who may not know Dr. Steele, what would be one of your fondest memories of Dr. Steele?
Well, I think Dr. Steele, for me, it's the way she approached people, interacted with people. I think she, other than the fact that she was a historian, but I think it's the fact that the way she interacted with people, she was about sharing that message with people and made it easy to interact with her because she was a very nice person. She was not there to browbeat you with her information, but really wanted to share that information with people, get people to learn about Grenadian history. And I think for me, that's the thing that's going to stay with me, is because of that interactions and the way she interacted with everybody.
She was very genuine in that interaction. I still remember my trips to Marisho House where, Dr. Steele would say, come on in. I was a young student at the time, but I had an interest in history even back then as a student from the Presentation College. And she encouraged me to come to Marisho House, and she was very down to earth about that approach. Talk to us about her publications, the books that she wrote on Grenada. Two very important books, one of which really sought to put in context a very important historical event in Grenadian history. And that is, of course, the Island Queen, the disappearance of the Island Queen.
Right. I think that her later book, her second book, looks at these specific events that happened during World War II. And the Island Queen, I think it's one of the mysteries that remain, even though we've all had our, suppositions on what really happened. But I think she put it in perspective by laying all of the information out, laying the emotions out as well, because this was about people. So I think that book will stand out in terms of how we look at these specific events, in sharing that information with people with generations. Again, this happened since World War II, but there's still people alive who are still connected to those people. So I think in that respects, the book gives us an idea of how we can look at similar events, and how we portray the people. This was just not just an accident that happened, but it's really about people's lives. And she made that connection in her second book. But I think for me, her first book on Grenada history of its people, that's a seminal book on Grenada's history. I think there are only two books really that stand out as having that place in Grenada's history. The other being George Brizan, Grenada Island of Conflict. And what is interesting is that both of these writers, Beverley Steele and George Brizan, began producing their work in the 1970s. Both of them started writing papers and producing that before they published their books. Brizan in 1998 and Beverley Steele in 2003. I think there's, for me though, even though the books are there, she also published several articles, which I think are very important as well. She did one on folk dance in Grenada, and that remains the only exploration of folk dance for the island. So whenever you're doing anything on folk dance, you have to turn to that article as a place to begin. So she did not just do the book, but these articles also stand out as well. She also did one on Marisho House, which gives us the history of that important building.
Talk to us about folk dance. What does the article talk about in the context of Grenadian folk dance?
Right. What she did was basically look at all of the diversity of the folk dances that in Grenada and provides the basic information. She spoke with several people to get that information because, of course, she did not have that information. So she went out and interviewed people and put together an article that provides the basic synopsis of folk dance in Grenada. So we just recently worked on an intangible cultural heritage project sponsored by UNESCO. And I provided everyone that article to read that was involved in that project. Because it's not just, I guess, about folk dance itself, but it's how we engage with intangible cultural heritage. So I think for all of us, I think revisiting that article would not be a bad place to begin when we're looking at intangible cultural heritage in general and how we go about safeguarding intangible cultural heritage like folk dance.
Mm-hmm. And that is one of the, I know that that's one of the things that Dr. Steele was very passionate about, safeguarding that cultural heritage. And speaking to that cultural heritage, Dr. Steele was indeed a patron of the arts, if you will. We know of Marisho House on H.A. Blaze Street, in the house of that houses the UWI Center, but it was also the former home of the late Theophilus Albert Marisho. She was very instrumental in seeking funding for that folk theater. Talk to us about her interest and her passion for the arts.
Right. I think the folk theater is probably the most evident part of the work that she's put in. But Marisho House has been at the base of dramatic and performing arts in Grenada. I think when you look at the development of theater in Grenada, you have to look at Marisho House going all the way back to the 50s and UWI. So Beverly Steele basically continued, put an emphasis on the performing arts, and the result was the theater that now really is the home of performing arts in Grenada. And I think that's where we find the article on folk dance came out of all of that, of her work in promoting and safeguarding intangible cultural heritage and just heritage in general, I think, with her work on Marisho House itself, by producing an article that shows the history and for architecture in Grenada.
Mm-hmm. Of course, people like Francis Urias Peters, he sent me a message last night, and Uncle Yu, as I call him, if you're listening to the Bubb Report, it would be nice if you can throw that tribute into the comment section there. Also, Ricardo Keynes Douglas, in speaking to Dr. Steele's passion for the arts, First, Francis Uras Peters, he said that had it not been for Dr. Steele, his the opportunity that he received to attend the Norman Manley School of the Performing Arts in Jamaica would not have been possible. He attributes Dr. Steele's intervention at the time to ensuring that he was able to secure a place at the institution. Ricardo Kings Douglas also spoke about her passion for playing mass and her passion for carnival and her passion for creativity in carnival. In fact, he says that Beverly Steele was a very avid player in his mass band, but she was also concerned about sort of the decay in creativity, if you will, with respect to the creative carnival product. And that is something that she was very concerned about. Now, let us talk about legacy building. How would you believe, how do you think Dr. Steele would want to be remembered?
I'll say that again. We just got interrupted.
Yeah, how do you think Dr. Steele would want to be remembered? Or how should we honor her legacy?
Right. I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about how we remember. I think we generally would find interesting ways to honor our sports heroes and everybody we would want to give that honor to that have made Grenada look good. I think we sometimes forget people like Dr. Steele and other people that produce academic work or just other works that help safeguard our culture. And we need to do more. I think we need to look at better ways to honor people like Beverly Steele. And I think now is the time for us to take a look. I don't know what exactly we should do in terms of what the state should do, but I think I would assume that UE would be doing something, to honor her. But I think we need to start thinking of that, especially as we approach our 50th anniversary of independence. We need to think of the way that we honor Grenadians across the spectrum, not just in sports or not just in whatever, in politics, but we really need to look at the people we honor, the people who have made contributions to Grenada. So I think this would be a good time for us to start thinking about that as we approach the 50th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps we can start by renaming all of the forts that we have in Grenada by using local Grenadians. These people, King George, he's never been to Grenada. Whoever Frederick was, he's never been to Grenada. Whoever Sendell was, he's never been to Grenada. All of the streets in St. George's, Tyrrell, well, now we have H.A. Blaze Street, but these colonizers were never in Grenada. Perhaps it would be a good place to start by renaming these places after Grenadian heroes who shaped the post-independence and post-colonial landscape of the country. But that's just me being on a soapbox. Dr. Martin, is there anything else you wish to add?
I just want to say, I think in Beverly's passing, I think we have an opportunity to revisit her work and to make that work available. I think lots of our history and stuff is not in the school system, is not taught in schools. And I think we really need to take a look at how we teach our heritage, how we teach our history, and make sure that this material remains in the school system or gets into the school system so that people learn about the works that we've done, that people have done over the years, and that any way moving forward, we have to have access to the materials that were produced about our history and culture. And Beverly has produced a number of things that are essential to moving forward. She laid the foundation in looking at Grenada's history and culture from the 1970s on. And I think that in itself speaks for itself in the contribution she has made. And we need to reinforce that. Us today need to promote what Beverly Steele wrote about, talked about, and share it in our school, in our curriculum, and in other places.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. John Angus Martin, thank you so much for agreeing to appear on the program. We also invited Dr. Nicole Phillip Dow, but unfortunately, her scheduling conflict precluded her from appearing this morning. So we thank you for, on such short notice, agreeing to come and pay tribute to the late Steele.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to have you back at some point to talk reparations because the struggle continues on that front. A lot happening there, and so we want to educate the public on that as well. Our viewers and listeners, that was John Angus Martin. He paid tribute to the late, great Dr. Beverley Steele, who passed away at the latter part of December in 2022. What we want to do now is to take a quick break, and we will be back to discuss 2023, looking forward to 2023. Career, mental health, motivation, finance, with our team of very enthusiastic ladies. Ladies, thank you so much for agreeing to appear on the program today. So please stand by, folks. We will be right back after these messages. The next segment of the Bubb Report comes to you compliments S.A. Johnson Funeral Home. They are a Caribbean family-owned funeral service. They offer a full range of funeral services at affordable prices in New York City. They can be reached on 347-777-9797. S.A. Johnson Funeral Home. Because you deserve to be treated with dignity.
My biggest problem is my fans and them. Last year they come knocking down my door. Black Stalin, Black Stalin. I said, well, what happened? They said, listen this. You know all them other singers just sit down and write a little smut now and then. You mean you can't write one for we? I said, all right. I can write the smut for them. I sit down, I take up my pen, and I take up my paper. I start to write my smut. Play the thing, play. 1983, my fans beg for a favor. I decide to help them, so I write this soca. Last year they come back with a different story. They say they want something smutty about Gino Dorothy. Now on my fans, I know your future depend. So I sit down to write this smut only to please them. But as I take up my pen and my piece of paper, and I write out the first verse, listen what I remember. Oil money come, oil money go. Poor people remain on the pavement and ghetto. When Mr. Divider start to divide the bread equally, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. How I jam she, how she jam me. Oh, we back, bread and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting for equal share of the cake, wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy, I take up the challenge just to prove to the lot. I decide to show them I could write a smut about this Dorothy woman who come down to the island and we happening with Bachi when we come out the steel band. Look, I done hire two girls to put on some short thing. Was to come on stage and show how Dorothy whining. But it's a wrong thing I doing. So when I strike up the first note, suppose Jaja punish me with a stroke in my one throat. Because the Ku Klux Klan office still Alabama, and in Brixton, England, my people still under pressure. Anytime I see that South Africans are free, I go in and finish the whole damn calypso about Dorothy. Oh, I jam she, and she jam me. Oh, we back, bread and we roll back. But once my people keep fighting with so much children life at stake, wait, Dorothy, wait, Dorothy,
Viewers and listeners, welcome back to the program. As a reminder, for the panel segment of the week, we are going to be looking forward to 2023. And here to make sense of how we can actually make sense and look forward to the year are a good friend, Naisha Kings Douglas, as well as Marissa James. We're having some technical issues with our guest from the Bahamas, but as soon as she can join us, she will be here. Ladies, welcome to the Bubb Report and Happy New Year, first of all. This is day 8. I trust that we all are surviving the year so far. It's day 8.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things we want to do here today is to talk about resolutions in the context of our careers, in the context of our finance, in the context of our mental and emotional health. So, Naisha, I want to begin with you. I had the opportunity to listen to one of your live streams. I believe it was on New Year's Day or the day after New Year's Day, actually, in which you spoke about incrementalism in the context of not setting these very grand goals for ourselves in the context of the new year. I want you to expand on that for us, please. That we should take baby steps in terms of how we set goals for ourselves.
Hi, Kellon. Hi, viewers. Thank you for having me. First of all, yes, I believe, that we get into the habit of everybody's doing it. So this is the new year, it's the first of the year, and that could be overwhelming for a lot of people. But because society is doing it, we feel that is the done thing to do. So what I believe and what I teach and what I coach to my clients, to ladies, is that it's okay to start. It's okay to make resolutions and set goals at any time during the year. That's the first thing. It doesn't have to be the 1st of January you do that and then you are stuck, because you don't know I don't even know what tomorrow would look like, let alone what the half year or the end of the year would look like. So that's the first thing I say. Stay in your lane. Do it as much as it is comfortable to you. So what I was talking about in that live where you caught me is about looking at how much could I sustain? How long could I sustain something for? What is my attention span? So you don't have to set your goals for the whole of 2023. You can set your goals for this month. You can set your goals for 21 days, 90 days, 120 days, a quarter, half a year, and you do it in increments whereby you can do it smartly, whereby you can measure it, whereby you can sustain it, and whereby you give yourself the best opportunity so that you succeed at those goals.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And let me bring in Marissa here. Of course, Marissa, many people might want to use 2023 as an opportunity to switch careers, change careers. Of course, the pandemic has taught us many things, one of which is a phenomenon that exists here in the United States called the Great Resignation, where people of a certain generation are just quitting their jobs. They're saying, I can't do it anymore in the interest of my own mental health and in the interest of my own self-preservation. I am not going to stay in this job anymore. Are we seeing that kind of trend in Grenada as well? Or is that just a thing that happens in North America because people are cushioned by the privileges of having other opportunities?
No, it's happening in Grenada as well. I think, as you said, the pandemic has showed a lot of persons. I guess it gave you some time to reflect and to see what kind of work environment that you want to work in. And persons reflected on that. And so you found that you have quite a few persons switching career and changing jobs. And from us at Jobs in Grenada, we have seen more so quite amount of females. So what we'd find, like 65% of females subscribe to our page. And they seem to be the majority of the people who are applying for new jobs. So I'm not too sure if they are the ones that are doing more of the introspections, but based on the trends we're seeing in Jobs in Grenada, we see quite a few of females making this job.
Interesting. Do you see in your line of work that people come to you around this time of year, the month of January, to say, you know what, I'm looking to find a new job? What does that look like?
Well, what we find, not necessarily they're coming to us. When we post ads, persons will ask, questions, comments. Sometimes they call to find out, oh, I'm interested in this particular area. I want to know if there are any jobs there. And most times we'll have to tell them we will only have jobs based on if employees and so give us jobs to post. So what we find, you could say, I should say probably from the ending part of the pandemic, we found we had quite a few persons calling to find out, do you have anything for this area? Do you have anything for that area? And I think probably that's around the time persons started making the decision or deciding that they wanted to move on.
Absolutely. And Naisha, I would bring you back here because one of the things you talk about too is the importance of giving ourselves grace. Yes? Not being pressured into societal expectations in terms of goal setting. And of course, I guess we can also piggyback into jobs as well. Why do you think it's important for us to give ourselves grace and not pressure ourselves when we are, for example, going into a new career or setting these goals because other people are setting these goals and therefore we want to compare ourselves to this person or that person just to have bragging rights, if you may?
I think it's important to give yourself grace because firstly, you have to decide, why do I want this? Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Like we see, we've been through the pandemic and everyone is like, I don't want to depend on the government to be, in charge of my money or in charge of whether I work and all of that. But that is not for everyone. And what we have to do, we have to let go of the keeping up with the Joneses syndrome or keeping up with my friend, or because my friend is doing this, I need to do it as well. And we have to be kind to ourselves because we did not get to where we are. Wherever you are at, whoever is listening right now, wherever you are at right now, you did not get there yesterday or today. These things happened over time. And we are suffering from what you call this now culture, this put it on and you expect everything to happen now. And we don't give ourselves the grace and then we become frustrated. We don't see results and we become frustrated. We lose patience with ourselves. And what we find ourselves doing is either we turn to the wrong things, be it our happiness, be it in your career, be it in your finances, because you don't give yourself the grace or you're not patient with yourself. You find a lot of people heading in the wrong directions. Either it's not what they want or it's not what they want, where they want to go, but they do it for that instant gratification or for what society might say. So it is important to give yourself grace, most importantly for your mental health. So I look at, I was an accountant, I did all of that, but my mental health wasn't suffering. So I had to give myself the grace of society may not think being a life coach is anything, but what does it do for my mental health? Where do you find your happiness? And we suffer a lot from that in the Caribbean. And, in Grenada, I'm Grenadian, as are you. Is what do people expect of me? How is this supposed to look? What is a good job? What is a good life? And we have to give ourselves grace to know that you're an adult now and you have to do what makes you happy, what brings you that peace of mind. And the only how you would be able to do that is by having patience with yourself and knowing that wherever you are right now, you are on that journey. So give yourself the grace to be there and to acknowledge that and to go through that, because that is what you have to go through to get to where you need to get.
Now, the Forbes magazine, which is a business magazine, they published a listing of 16 reasons why New Year's resolutions fail. And this was very interesting to me. The first one they said was you're treating resolutions not as a marathon, but as a sprint. I want to get you to piggyback on those. You put the cart before the horse. You don't believe in yourself. Too much thinking and not enough doing. Very interesting there. You're in too much of a hurry. You don't enjoy the process. You're trying too hard. You don't track your progress. You have no social support. And figures are not in your favor. And what they mean by that is, in other words, you might not be in a financially comfortable place or able place to be able to meet those resolutions. I want you to pick up on those.
Well, you know what? I agree with it totally. We go into this New Year's resolution as a sprint, not again, instant gratification. I'm sure we all seen the gyms are filled. Come the first to the 8th, and I think Blue Monday this year is around the 17th. That's when everybody, you haven't seen you lost any weight or anything like that, because we want that instant gratification. And when we don't see it instantly, then we feel we are a failure and we give up. So some people have already given up on those New Year's resolutions. But if you look at it in that and celebrating the small wins, don't wait until, I have lost this 10 pound, I have lost this 100 pound, I have saved all this money, I have done that. Celebrate when you lose the 2 pounds. Celebrate when you lose the 3 pound. And also, we don't ask ourselves, why do we want these goals? Why do we want to do it? Why do we want a new job? Your job might be fine, but because your friends have changed their jobs, or this job, I see in school, I remember growing up in Grenada, either you're a teacher or you work in the ministry now, and everybody works in School of Med or the bank or whatever. But is that the job that you want to do? So you have to know why. And when you know why you want to do something, that eliminates most of the issues that you have said there. Because when you know why, finances would not play a role, because if your why is strong enough, you would find a way to do it. You may not have the money to go to the gym, but you want it strong enough. You get up and you walk up Grande Tang, or you go on the beach in the morning and you walk. But if your why is not strong enough, if your why is just because your friends are going to the gym, your friends are going to whatever the hippish gym is, and you don't have the money, you feel, because I cannot go to that gym, I cannot achieve that goal. But when your why is strong enough, you remain motivated, and when you are able to measure your goals, again, I just want to lose weight. Okay, what does that mean? How much weight do you want to lose? I want to save money. How much money do you want to save? And unless you are able to measure that, I want to lose 10 pounds. You put down on a piece of paper 1, 2, and you tick off every one. And that also gives you a sense of achievement, because you see everything going down. I want to save money. How much money? You have to be specific about what you want to do. And it's all about preparation. You can't go to a party on the last day of the month and drink all you want. You haven't prepared your clothes. You haven't checked your bank account. You haven't done any preparation at all. But you get up on the first of the year and go, right, I'm going to church today. I'm praising God. I'm going to the gym. I'm walking up Grande Tang. I'm saving all my money. You have to prepare yourself for these things. And one thing I want to say to people as well is, where am I coming from? That means a lot when setting your New Year's resolutions. You have to know where you are coming from to know where you are going. And your starting point is not necessarily, or it never is, the same starting point as that person next to you. So when you're trying to compete with that person, you may have 100 pounds to lose, someone only has 10. How do you measure your success or your failure against that person's?
Very good. And Marissa, I'm going to bring you back here. We were talking about career. What are some of the I would say, the things you see when people apply for jobs that you say to yourself that these things are a no-no? You should not be doing these things in the process of applying for jobs.
Okay, so first of all, we realize that some persons don't know how to. First of all, they don't read the posts and the ads that we give properly, and so they keep asking a number of questions on the same matter. We also realize that some persons, let's say for instance, we have to apply for the job and it's online. You would find persons will put the application on a bed take a picture of the application. And if they have some parts on the application that they want to correct, they will take a marker. We even have somebody that did that, take a marker, scratch the area out, and write in the correction that they wanted in, and then send that off. So from jobs in Grenada, we're seeing quite a few. I think persons don't realize that your CV or your application gives the employer first an impression of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do something like that, you have to make sure you give it your best. And we see quite some of that coming, where persons don't take pride in how they go about actually doing the application for a company. And I think that's an area, based on what we've seen, that requires quite a bit of work.
That I can't believe you just said people just
Yes.
Sharpie on on the application.
We've even had cases where persons, I think they're not too sure so they're accustomed clicking a link. You click a link and you send something up. If you have to type an email to actually send it off to, I've seen cases where sometimes the body of the letter is in the subject. So little errors like that. So I think there's some areas for training in terms of, actually preparing an application. I know that they do it in school, but something seems to happen from the time you graduate to the time you're actually applying.
Applying at the job market. Not
correct.
wanting to cut you, but would you say that there is sort of a demographic differential in terms of who is doing this? Is it people who are younger, mostly who are what I call digital natives, the instant coffee, the TikTok generation, whose attention span is that of an ant? No disrespect to people who use TikTok, but are you also seeing that with more older adults as well?
Okay, in the case of older adults, you might see it in the areas of persons who are in the hospitality and the construction area, and I think that's an area for training. So you may see that in that area, that facet where persons may do something like that. But the majority of it, sometimes you will find from younger persons also in that particular sector, the hospitality and construction area. They seem to have a challenge in adequately preparing CVs and applications and applying for companies. So I think that's an area. That's an area also in Jobs in Grenada. We're looking to see if we can provide some training to help persons adequately do that and put their best foot forward in terms of applying for jobs.
So that training piece is important, but also having important communication skills as well. Yeah, being able to market yourself and sell yourself as the most attractive candidate for that position.
And I think it's a big part, and it has to go back to something we're seeing. There is, I'm not too sure what to call it, but there's a gap between the time persons leave school and they enter into the workplace. So a lot of the skill set that you see they talk about, you know that it's done in school, but when it comes to applying it outside there, that seems to be lacking. And so more has to be done to get our youngsters ready for the world of work. I remember just looking at the clip there that Dr. Beverley Steele would have said that she had to produce books to help people because there's a gap between the time you leave school. So you actually have to learn everything all over, and we're seeing that there's quite a bit of things. Persons don't even so we'll post a job, let's say for instance, and they don't understand the TikTok generation, don't understand the implication. You post a job and they will go under the posting and bash a company. And what they don't understand is that the employers are looking at how you behave on social media. When they decide to make a final decision to accept you for the job, they go and look at your track record, and some of them go and they just feel entitled and led that I have to share exactly how I feel. But sometimes you have to be careful how you do that in that social setting.
Because everybody wants to cuss everybody on social media.
That's correct, and we're not mindful.
Mother this, you mother that, so and so, this whatever.
And even in my role in the past as an employer, whenever I'm going to look for someone and I see you, I look at your CV, I go to Facebook, I go to Instagram, I go to Twitter. I want to see what you're all about and if you're the right person for my workplace. So that's something person should be mindful of.
Now, the pushback there might be that, well, that's my private life. My social media is an extension of my private life. What do employers say to that idea, that pushback?
Well, yes, you can say it's your social life.
Yeah.
As with, let's say, for instance, you have political leaders. They call to lead, and you're held at certain standards. When you're working at certain places, you're held at certain standards. As an educator, teachers in the past, I remember as an educator, you couldn't be seen behaving and getting on in certain because you're just held at certain standards. And working at certain institutions, they expect certain behaviors from you. So even if it's your social life, a big part of you still represents the workplace, and they would want to make sure, any institution will always want to make sure that they have the best people representing in their jobs.
Absolutely. And so those are very important goals. I wish our financial expert was here, because she has some very interesting tips on managing finance. And Aisha, you spoke about that as well, the importance of personal finance and how you manage that. But we have some questions coming in here from the audience. Latoya is saying, great contribution, Nyasha. I share the same view concerning what you said earlier about goals. Donna Swap is saying, great topics. Yes. Shireen is saying, maybe those people truly aren't serious about resolutions. Maybe they just get caught up in the hype of the resolutions. Yeah.
I agree totally, because sometimes you don't need I did not make any New Year's resolutions. I didn't.
I don't do the same either. Yeah.
You're a life coach, you're a this, you're a that. You don't. And I go through, I have my wider, this is what I want to achieve in 5 years, this is what I want to achieve in 10 years. And that plan is already there. And I just make sure, and I know I want to encourage people, as long as you're waking up every single day and you're doing something to make yourself a better person in whatever area of your life, that is good enough. You know, I agree with Shireen totally we get caught up in, we have to be seen as saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. But you don't have to. You know, you don't have to be it. That is a conventional. It's not even conventional, because growing up, I didn't know anything about New Year's resolutions and all of that. It's a new age thing, and we set ourselves up for failure, especially if this is not an area in which it is important to us. Why would you want to be spending your time doing something because your friend is doing it, or because it's the done thing to do? We go back again to the TikTok. I'm on TikTok, by the way, to the TikTok and Facebook generation. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Shireen, there is also a debate unfolding there, Marissa, and I want to get you. Someone is asking, what is the difference between a CV and a resume? Can you perhaps tell us what the difference is?
It's the same thing. From what there's no difference. I think it's the same thing.
Well, I think Pitt is saying curriculum vitae is mostly used by academics. And then Shireen is saying, see now we just say resume. So maybe they need to dumb it down for the slow ones like me. Or maybe it's just not a term used where I live. I mean, don't we teach?
Yes.
Don't
So
we teach
CV,
that in business? But,
yes.
But don't we teach that in school?
CV is more academic. That's correct.
Yeah. But I'm saying we do teach resume preparation.
Yes, we do.
I would hope in the 21st century education system that we're not only teaching about Columbus that discovered Grenada, but that we teach the importance of job seeking, writing resumes and things like that, right?
Kellon, yes, you find that they teach that, but then you still, based on what we see from jobs in Grenada, when person sends ad, that's again, I'm asking, where is the gap? Because we know that they teach it in school, but when they actually prepare the CV, the quality of the CV, some of it is not up. Just by looking at it, your employer might not want to apply, seek you for the job. So we advise persons to, if you cannot do it, let somebody assist you in doing an excellent CV that will represent you well in the job market. Because
Yeah.
there's so many persons out there sending out CV. There's so many. You see the amount of students that leave school in Grenada here and move on to college in TAMCC and leave seeking jobs. You have to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. Nasha, you wanted to jump in.
I find it interesting that you say you see it worse in certain industries, and those in the industries of hospitality and construction and stuff like that. And I'm wondering if we're missing a trick here, and if when these, because you would find, people in those industries does not go to the tertiary educations on higher levels. And is it that, we are missing a trick in when we are teaching those trades, that we are not teaching the importance of the CV and the way to put your CVs out there? And secondly, when we get, those of us who are employers, when we get those CVs that look like that, do we just toss it aside and laugh at it and say, you know what, that person is stupid? And even though we don't want to employ that person, do we even speak to them? Do we even speak to them and say, you know what, the reason why you didn't get the job, or the reason why I didn't even consider you, was because your CV was not written in the proper way? Do we educate them when we see, stuff like that coming across our desks?
Well, in some cases, I think employers will reach out to persons, some, not all, to let them know, okay, because sometimes they will call to find out, well, why didn't I get the job? And you will give them an indication, okay, this is the area that you need to work on. I just wanted to throw in another aspect. Sometimes you find persons with excellent CVs. As you say, you can get persons there. But when they get there and you decide to hire them, they can't do the job, right? So that's another challenge that you find when with these excellent CVs. So it's for employers, it's really a task trying to, and I think that's why the interview is important, because when you get a chance to sit down and to speak to persons and that's why also from the employee end, when you get to an interview, you have to, so we always advise you, look at what the job is asking for, look at your skill set, create a summary. So when you get to that interview, you can show the employer, this is the reason why I am best for this job. And when you get into the job, you have to first of all see that you cannot just start from the top. As you said in the beginning, persons tend to want the no. You have to grow into a position. So it starts where you work gradually building yourself into this institution and getting a better idea of learning about what's happening there before you grow. What we find, quite a few people, when they get into a new job, I want to be up there right now. And at times it creates issues because I'm coming with my degree, I'm coming with my master's, and I should be here, there. When you would have persons who would have been in the that area for 20, 30 years and would have grown over time, and they have a lot of institutional knowledge. You may be coming with academic or university knowledge, but they have institutional job knowledge. So you need to start from the bottom, listening to those who have been there before you, and work your way up.
Absolutely. Naisha, anything else you wish to add to that? But I want to bring in a viewer comment here, which I think is important. Joan Charles is saying, when subjects like writing applications are taught as life skills in schools and not just to pass exams, then the skills will be carried out in life. I want to get your ladies' reaction to that comment from Joan Charles.
Yeah, I agree totally, because you find, how much emphasis, and let's go back to finance as well. We teach mathematics, we teach English, we teach all of that. Do we teach the young people in school how to open a bank account? What is a budget when you start to work? How much to save? How much would national insurance take? Something as simple as, I'm working for $1,200 a month. You're going to the workplace not even knowing, well, national insurance would take a huge chunk of that before you even have your own money. And I think I agree totally. And that is what I was going to say. Is enough emphasis being placed on those life skills? Is enough emphasis being placed on mental health? Is this taboo about, if you have mental health issues, you're crazy, or if you're not feeling well, you can't tell anybody about that. And in schools, because these are the practicalities of life, even how to dress yourself, how to present yourself in a workplace. Where do I wear jeans and where do I wear a suit? How to greet people, how to address people, how to speak to people, customer service. These are basic life skills that we don't put enough emphasis on. And I think it's because we have gotten into the thing of ticking these boxes and how many A's did we get in maths and how many B's in science and how many of that.
And how many subjects we got.
How many subjects we got. And you may find a well-mannered, well-rounded individual with 2 or 3 GCSEs would be more of an asset to your business because that person has pride, they care, they know how to manage themselves, they know how to manage their money. A lot of people don't have a lot of education, but they end up being filthy rich. Why? Because they know I have to save, I have to live within my means. This is my budget. This is where my money is coming from. This is where my money is going. And this is something that we need to place emphasis on. You may be surprised if I tell you that I have grown women coming to me as clients and they don't even know simple things of life like how to write a CV, what to put and what not to put. And these are simple life skills that I think we need to put more emphasis. Life skills, life knowledge should be a subject on the curriculum where we teach. We take these young people and we just throw them out. You get to Form 5, you graduate, now go and work, or you finish, national college, or even if you finish university, because when you're university, it's a different kettle of fish with student loans and this and that, to when you're working and you have a mortgage and you have all of that. So we just throw people in and you say, here's your degree, here's your GCSEs, here is your A-levels, go out there and be a woman and be a man. And I think we are doing young people a disservice by not teaching them the practicalities of life and how to get on in an everyday world. And that is why, because we are sending young people out there who do not know these skills and who do not know themselves. That is why we have the TikTok generation and the Facebook generation, because if you stand for nothing, you fall for anything. So they pick who they want to see. They pick, okay, I can resonate with this person. And it may be somebody who is high in society. It may be somebody who is a bum or a drug dealer or a thief. Well, the thief is getting the money quickly. So I don't know how to do it myself. So let me follow his life. We have this culture now where in Grenada, a lot of the things we are seeing our young people doing are very American or very Canadian or very British. And that is because we are doing them a disservice by not grounding them in who you are. What is your culture? What maketh you a man or a woman? So they lean towards and they gravitate towards what they resonate with, what suits them right here, right now. And they make a lot of mistakes in their early 20s and 30s because they don't even know what they want. So they go to the shinier thing and it may not necessarily be the good thing.
Kellan, I just wanted to add.
Yes, go ahead, Marissa.
Talk about the life skills. I know that life skills is taught, but I think the importance of the life skills and why do the students need the life skills? I think that's why we're not seeing a transference of the life skills that are taught. A big thing too, I find, is the soft skills. So as you mentioned earlier, you might find somebody coming with 2 or 3 subjects having a better ability and in a better position to work as somebody coming with 10 or 12 subjects. They are coming with one of the better attitude. They can empathize, they can work together, they know how to resolve conflicts. And so you might find an employer might say, okay, yes, I wanted the person with the 10 and the 12, But based on my interview and based on their ability, this is the better employee that I should have in my company.
Mhm.
So you would find our soft skills. Even in my role too, when I worked at on an institution, some of these young employees do not know how to speak to their employers. So their manner is quite rude and harsh, and it's always. And I come from a generation where we learn respect and diplomacy, right? You have to tell somebody shut them out. You will tell them shut them out in the most calm and polite manner there, and not come across as being harsh and rude. You're sharing your opinions, you're sharing your thoughts, but not in a disrespectful manner. And I think it comes from the feeling of I'm entitled and I have to get things off my chest, and you go about doing it the wrong way. There's nothing wrong in objecting. There's nothing wrong in sharing your opinion. It's just the how. So a big part of the life skills too, it's the how. And I think going back to schools, because we as adults tend to want to solve all the problems for children in school and not allow them to solve it, some of them on their own, when they get out there, they can't solve it because we always intervening. So when you get into the workplace and you can work with John or you can work with Susie, or you have an issue with John or Susie and you have a project to get done, they can't do it unless somebody becomes involved in the whole matter.
And if I may come in here,
Go ahead. Yes,
Kellon, I think one of our biggest problems right now is accountability. No one wants to be accountable for anything. And young people, like my mother could still tell me to sit down. She still does it, and she still tells me to sit down, and I listen. But we have this thing right now where you're big, everybody's big, and everybody knows, so no one wants to be accountable. So a lot of the times, the young people, they do not necessarily know that they're doing the wrong thing. Because I say, if you're not accountable to anybody, listen, I can tell myself I ran 10 miles this morning. I can tell myself that I did that. But if I have to if Kellon would check up on me that I have ran these 10 miles, then I am accountable to Kellon. But we don't want to give people, to be accountable, we don't want to be accountable to employers. Children nowadays don't even want to be accountable to teachers in the school. They don't want to be accountable. And I find that that's one of the major, even with adults, if we get off the young people for a minute, even with adults, why don't we have a life coach? Why don't I say, Kellon, I'm writing this book, hold me accountable for writing this book. My date for end, and it goes back again to setting goals. If you say to yourself, I am losing 10 pounds and I'm losing it by the end of February. February can come and you haven't lost it, but what difference does it make to anybody else's life? Who are you accountable to? So when you get up in the morning and you have not done what you need to do, you don't feel as I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. And before you know it, we're at December 31st and you still have not lost the 10 pounds. So I think it has a lot to do with being accountable and not living in your own bubble and knowing that you are not an island. We all need each other to be able to succeed at goals, resolutions, jobs, writing CVs, whatever it is. And we shouldn't have this shame factor put upon us. Now, if a young person comes to me and say, Miss, I can't write my CV properly, can you help me? I would help them. But I know a lot of people say, you went to school for 5 years, the teacher teach you that already, but you still don't know how to do it. So then they don't want to come to us. Well,
so that is a big thing. That is a big thing in Grenada. Not only Grenada, but in other parts of the world too, really. Yeah. But I've seen it in Grenada as well, right? You're big and you have sense. Why? What you're coming to me to that for? Spend all this money on you to send it to school, But ladies, we want to take a quick break. We want to come up for air, and then we will come back to wrap up this program. Both of you were amazing. I believe I will be inviting you back to the program as a pair. What do you guys think about that? I think that would be
problem.
good.
Yeah. No problem.
And Marissa, as well as that rooster that's crowing in your background. Invite that rooster to the program next time as well.
Yes, most definitely. I love everything about Grenada, and that's a part of it. So that's for the
Absolutely.
people out there who didn't hear it in a while. You just heard it from my end.
I just heard it. Yep.
There you go. All right, folks, stand by. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back to wrap the program up. Hi, everyone. Thanks for checking out the Bubb Report's social media pages. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch our weekly live show, follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch repeat episodes on Wednesdays at 4 and 5 p.m. respectively on CRFM Radio and GBN TV in Grenada. We are also viewed on Sundays at 8 p.m. on WPG 10 throughout the Caribbean. Thanks for watching. Viewers, we also want to hear from you. Of course, the Bubb Report would not be possible without audience participation. Your very rich and sometimes contentious contributions, which you contribute to the Bubb Report every week in this interactive show, is what makes this program what it is. So we want to hear from you. Tell us your location and tell us what you enjoy about the Bubb Report. I believe Shireen James is saying that she is in Vancouver, Canada. Shireen, I didn't know that. I thought you were in Grenada for some reason. But tell us, Vancouver, I believe that's what, 3 hours. So you wake up very early to watch the Bubb Report. I really appreciate that. But we want to hear from you. I know that we have a cadre of Grenadian women, Grenadian mothers and aunties in their kitchens who listen to the Bubb Report while they're cooking at home. Ladies, I appreciate you. I know of one viewer in Trinidad. I don't think she would want me to mention her name, but she also indicated that she watches the Bubb Report while preparing her lunch in the kitchen. We have a number of ladies in St. Andrews as well who do the same thing. I found that out on my last visit to Grenada. So audience members, again, I really, really appreciate the time that you take to watch the program on a Sunday. Sometimes it's difficult to tune into the program on Sunday, obviously, because you are in the middle of doing your chores. So we want to hear from you as we get to the next as we get to the end of the program, because we do want to appreciate members of the audience. But ladies, what we want to do now is to wrap the program up and get some closing comments. I believe both of you shared some very valuable insights. It would have been good to hear from our financial coach, but unfortunately she had some connectivity issues. But Marissa, I want to begin with you. Goal setting in the context of career development. You've said a lot here. And what is your charge? What is your charge for 2023 for young people who are looking for jobs, for people who are looking to change careers, for people who are looking to develop themselves and uplift themselves for the coming year?
I would say, first of all, understand who you are and what kind of work environment is best for you. Understand the change, because I always believe going to school is not only just to get a job. I believe you're going to school because when you leave, you're going out there to solve some world problem. You're going out there to make things better in Grenada, to fix something for the next generation. So understand who you are, understand how you work best, and out of that, the first job or the first ad you see may not be the one thing that is best for you. You might go to an interview and you might feel because you're not accepted, you feel okay, rejected, and you feel you're not good enough. It's possible that that particular job, it's not for you. So understand how best you can give 100% to build. That's if you're going on to build a job. If you feel that I might be better at starting my own business and employing persons, I think this is the way, setting goals, but reflecting on who you are and where you need to go. And just as Ms. Douglas said, it's incrementally. It's not something that will happen overnight. You have to gradually get there and take the necessary steps. If you need to upgrade in some areas, some persons seem to think that either I might have to go to the government or get it done. There's so many different online opportunities now that you can go and upgrade yourself. YouTube, there's so many persons putting out many videos there that can give you information that can help set you apart for that job that it's right for you. I believe in passion. I believe in doing what you will be happy about doing, because you work for the majority of your life. And if you're not happy about that, just as you said, it's going to affect your mental health, it's going to affect your family, and you're not going to give 100%.
Absolutely. And Nyasha, please give my fondest greetings to Mother June.
I will do.
Whenever I talk to your brother, my former classmate Cornelius, I always make sure to tell him to please convey my greetings to your mom. The fun fact about your mom and I is that your mom and my dad, my late dad, were very, very good friends. They actually
Yes.
had neighboring stalls in the market,
Mm-hmm.
St. George's Market Square, where I would
Yes.
go on a Saturday morning with your mom. We would sell.
Yes.
I did that as well as a young man. So please convey your greetings to your mom. She's such a wonderful lady.
I will, and growing up, your dad, Mr. Jimmy, was, a father figure to those of us in the market. So I will let her know. I just wanted to say, great program today, because I think that these are things that we don't discuss. We don't discuss them. We don't come on, and we are not frank. And if I have to leave your audience with anything today, the first thing I would say is it's okay. It's okay if you haven't started yet. It's only the 8th of January. It's okay if your friends have started and, you look around you and everybody's doing it, because you need to stay in your lane. You need to stay in your lane, and you need to do what is right for you. Secondly, know why you're doing something. You don't have to do all the things. So you don't have to you can work on things individually. You don't have to work on your finances and your weight and your spirituality and your relationships and all of that all the time. So I encourage you, after this program, you sit down, you take a piece of paper, and you write down the main areas of your life. You put them in priority, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you take your time and you start with number 1, and you set those goals. If you have to set goals, resolutions, whatever you choose to call them, you set them that they are measurable, that they are smart, that they are achievable. And please, please, please get yourself an accountability coach, an accountability partner, someone who could ensure that you are doing what you are meant to do, someone who you give that authority in your life to pull you up and shake you up, because willpower could only get you so far, but you need to be self-motivating. And the only how you do that is when, 1, you know why you are doing it, and 2, when you have that support system. Remember, there is strength in numbers, and anything that is not making you happy, anything that is not improving your mental health, because everything starts in your mind. And I know that's something we didn't get to, but everything starts in your mind. If you believe you can or you cannot, you are right. And unless your mental health is right, and that is why I don't do business coaching, or I can do all of that, but I do woman coaching, because I believe once you are right, once your mental health is right, once you are comfortable and confident in your own skin, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. So look after you. My words for you for 2023 is look after what is important. And what is important is your mental, your spiritual, and your physical health. Once you have all of those sorted, your finances, your business, your relationships, all of that would stand a good chance of being successful.
Ladies, thank you so very much for really giving us that fire and giving us the impetus to move forward with confidence, but to move forward with grace. As you know, I love using that terminology of grace. I tell my students, I give you grace, for a lot of the challenges that you are experiencing. But you have really hit the nerve on a number of issues that we confront, really that speaks to the human condition. We are not perfect people. And so, what you've done here is to give us those tools, those life skills that we need really to think about how we are growing in life. And people always say it's not about going through life, I believe, but how you grow in life as well.
Growing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very important.
Mhm.
So again, viewers, lots of comments are coming in. But let me just take some of those final comments before we end the program. Super Tree, she's saying, passing by, 2023 will manifest your goals for this program. Kudos to the Bubb Report.
Amen.
Great start for 2023. Thank you, Super Trees. She was also an avid viewer of the George Grant, Sundays with George Grant, my mentor and the person with whom I inherited this program from. So thank you there, Sue, for that. We have other comments as well. Rachel Henry saying, very interesting program today. A well-informed panel. That's what we try to do,
Yeah.
is to bring people who know what they're talking about on this program. It's not a mouth open, word jump out type of deal here.
That's right.
So ladies, thank you. Ladies, thank you. And on behalf of the producers, thank you again for appearing on the program.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having.
having us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Viewers and listeners, that was Nyasha Keynes Douglas, a life coach, and Marissa James, a HR professional and educator. Now, we were also expected to be joined by a financial advisor out there in the Bahamas, but she had some very difficult internet issues. So we unfortunately did not have her on the panel. But sometimes they say less is more. So that is good. But let me just take some final comments. Again, we have somebody whose username is Baby Daddy. I do not know that that's your real name, sir. But you said you're from Queens, but right now you are in Grenada. Let's see. Kofi McDonald is saying, next program, can we talk about fair wages? Interesting. Yes. Let us hear what you have to say about fair wages. Do you think that wages in Grenada are not fair? Certainly, I know that there is conversation around regularizing the minimum wage in the country, so that is something to look forward to. Let's see who else we have here joining us. Someone says, I'm listening to the program while I'm packing my suitcase. See you in 1 week. Very good program. I hope young people are listening. Safe travels, Miss James, wherever you're going. Let's see. We have another. Faye Elizabeth James is listening from Richmond, Virginia. That's just down the street from me because I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. Nat Let's Augustine, she's saying Silver Spring, Maryland. That's just up the road from me here. I love the variety of guests and information that's being shared. Keep it up. Let's see. Watching from Texas. We have somebody who is watching from Texas. AL2 Saints is watching from Texas. Jennifer Lawrence from Brooklyn, New York. Otha Collier, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. If I did not, I apologize. You live in Washington, D.C., and you're saying, I think the ladies made some very interesting and heartwarming points. You are originally from Birch Grove. Thanks for watching the program. Let's see. We have Rachel here from Montreal in Canada, as well as Pitt, Miss Pitt, who is also in Toronto, Canada. So we have Canada in the room as well. All right. Let's see. Well, this is the end of the program for this week. Next week we are going to get into the heavy stuff. But one of the commitments that we're making this year is that we are going to mix the heavy with the light and the heartwarming, because the news can sometimes get very depressing. So we want to ensure that we have a very healthy and balanced mix for our audience this year. Now, on behalf of the producers of the Bubb Report, I am your humble servant, Dr. Kellen Bubb. Thank you, and I wish everyone a pleasant and productive week ahead. Bye-bye.